until recently, I would say my perspective on money has been very different from yours. Like, I don't know if it was just my wiring, but I was almost afraid of it. Like
Of money.
Of money, or afraid of saying that it wasn't virtuous to say, I want to make bank.
Yeah.
What would you say to people who struggle with that mindset, even if they're a financial advisor? Like maybe they don't feel as free to be like, yeah, I want to make a lot of money and help other people do the same. Or maybe they're counseling a client who's struggling with that. I think there can be this idea that it's more virtuous to either not care about money or even be poor.
Yeah. That's super loaded.
Yeah.
So I will pay attention to where I am on time for that because it's that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be a whole episode with like, the guy who wrote The Psychology of Money, which was a really impactful book, or something like that. Right.
Yeah.
So, but I would say that even you got some advisors making $200,000 a year. Mm-hmm. And they have the propensity, if that's where, to like do
the
something.
Capacity.
The capacity.
To really, yeah.
To do something mega.
Like they're good.
They're really good.
Yeah.
And they could be more deeply serving a lot more clients or building an agency inside. They could be expanding, getting more junior brokers inside of their offices and more advisors that are working with them and build a bigger firm that reaches and seeks to help more people. Mm-hmm. But they don't because they constrict.
And you think maybe that philosophy, even if they're not aware of it, it's
in there.
Yeah.
That's what's keeping them from doing it. I mean, there's other factors, of course, but I almost inevitably in our culture, you grow up and you watch, Mr. Potter on It's a Wonderful Life.
Sure.
You don't
want to be that guy.
You don't want to be that guy. He's the guy with like the money in town and he's the slumlord and and I can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
Of every movie that basically you were ever taught to watch, the villain is almost inevitably the most successful person. Mm-hmm. And then we go, money's dangerous.
That's right.
Why? Well, because in this movie, and in this movie, you see what I'm saying? And like when in my experience, it's not the case at all.
Scrooge.
Yeah, like Scrooge McDuck. I'm thinking of McDuck.
That's a classic too.
It's classic.
But like every Christmas, you watch The Christmas Carol.
Yeah. And you're like, well, the rich guy's the jerk.
Yeah.
So you then think subconsciously that money is harmful, like it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And I think actually that is true because it's a tool.
Sure, or it can be. It's powerful.
Course.
Yeah.
It's like, I always love to tell people like, money's like a hammer. Like you can use money to build a house.
Yeah.
You can use a hammer to build a house. Or you can use a hammer to destroy a house. Mm-hmm. Or you could use a hammer to kill somebody.
Sure.
Like.
Or it can just sit there and do nothing.
Or it can sit there uselessly.
Yeah.
Right, and just rot away. Mm-hmm. So like you can hoard money and it helps no one. Mm-hmm. You can invest money into, let's say the market, and you're buying stocks and things that are helping those brands in that way. You can invest directly into a human being in their business, or somebody can go into business together that employs more people, and you can inject that to do something great. Mm-hmm. Or you could use money to do something really bad to somebody. And I don't need an example of that because it's like I said, it's been our entire lives. But I've never met somebody who's actually successful financially at a high level who's even close to anything we've ever been portrayed.
Sure.
They're always like giving people, like they just give out of their heart, like always awesome, just really like there to help.
Yeah.
And like,
I think that's true.
It's when I started to see that, I was like, dang, like this is a part of the matrix that I'm in.
It's the narrative that everyone likes to repeat.
But I think that's what harms people in business. Mm-hmm. A lot of it's their money thinking, and their money thinking so screwed up that they can't break free to do something special because they're trapped.
Yeah. I think what really rocked my world was when you suggested that I read Atlas Shrugged.
Oh, now we're pushing the envelope for the listeners.
You're going to mix a drink for that?
Say, okay. He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
No, I'm huge fan of the book. I mean, just like any book, or any podcast, anything, it's kind of take the meat, leave the bone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the ideal man and this and that can be achieved and some of that silliness. But yes, book had a massive impact on my mindset.
It really helped me. I think even the way that it made me uncomfortable,
Yeah.
because it really challenged me to rethink my thinking. And just this idea that claims of indifference towards money are actually, they tend to be dishonest or hypocritical. Like usually if someone's espousing those things, it's not actually true. Like you need wealth to function. And if you don't have it, you're going to have to get it from someone else. And you're sure as heck not helping someone.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just understanding money and trade for value.
Yeah.
Like when that stops being this 30,000 foot peripheral, a lot of people are, oh, money brings value to people. Like people don't really connect the dots. And just think about the really simplistic thing that when a product or service is created and it helps humanity, you in exchange for helping that subsect of people or whatever you specifically your niches that you work in, right? You benefit from that, but they benefit 10, 50, 100 times more than you do.
Sure.
So if I, run an HVAC company,
Yeah.
like this family in my town when I was growing up, and I remember the girl, I just went into their house. I'm like, man, it was a nice house, and just thinking like, holy smokes, And then I found out the dad owned an HVAC company.
Okay.
And I just thought, okay, now I'm older and I think about this. I didn't understand at the time. Just that he owns an HVAC company. It meant nothing to me at that age.
Right.
But now I'm like, okay, that guy was providing heating and air conditioning, which enriches people's lives literally every day. Okay, because in Indiana it's either hot or it's cold, or it's not really any. We don't know.
Welcome
or it's
to
in the
January.
same day.
Yeah.
This guy's enriching people's lives by providing this great product and service, and people pay him for that. Like, how is that bad? And he's doing well. Like, how is this bad?
Sure.
And the older I got, the more I realized, that's not bad.
Yeah.
That's good. And the guy who owns the restaurant that we all come eat at and enjoy our Sunday after church so we don't have to cook meals, he's doing well. Yeah, good on him.
Yeah.
So that's a mindset too.
Yep.
Just not looking at other people and jealously looking at what others have and then thinking they have, which means you don't.
Sure.
That there's this finite amount of success that can possibly passed around is the most one of the worst falsehoods ever perpetuated on people's mindsets.
Yeah.
If I get $1, it doesn't mean was taken away from someone else.
That's
It's
interesting.
It's not how that works. When somebody gets richer, somebody else doesn't get poorer. That is not actually mathematically how that works.
Interesting. Tell me more about that. I'm very curious because I do feel like, that narrative is everywhere right now. So whether it's oil or water or what have you, there is definitely a scarcity mindset.
Well, there's certain things, of course, that we can measure.
Sure.
Let's say cobalt or something, some natural resource that we could run out of this natural resource. Well, sure. Assuming we actually know how much of it there is or isn't.
Money different?
Because we print money. It's elastic, literally. The amount of money we have in national debt right now is bigger than the total amount of money in the planet just a couple of decades ago between all countries.
Sure.
And because more is just created, because as there's more population and more people and more printing and without getting into the economics of the pros and cons of that, the point is that expansion means expansion. You know what I mean? Just because you keep eating, you can get real fat, but you didn't get a new suit of skin. It just stretches to keep your butt inside, right? It doesn't take from, you know what I mean? It's that's a terrible analogy, but it's kind of funny. It's it just grows, you know what I mean? And it's, when I get the heating and air in my house, I give you $500 for fixing my device, my furnace, let's say. I give you that $500. But where did I get for the $500 from? From working at the plant. And what do I do at the plant? I make steel that's sold to, that's the old story of capitalism. I think it's Friedman said, or Milton Friedman said, no single man can make a pencil. It's impossible.